The guard's hand froze on his radio. On the security monitor, Princess Charlotte was doing something impossible. Something that could spark an international incident. Something that went against 300 years of royal protocol. She was 7 years old. And she was about to change everything. Security Chief James Morrison had worked at Kensington Palace for 15 years. He'd seen everything. Protesters, paparazzi, overagger, tourists. But he'd never seen this. Never seen a member of the royal family simply walk out the side gate, alone at 7 in the morning. With no protection, no announcement, no permission.
"Oh,
"Sir," the junior guard whispered. "Should we stop her?" James stared at the screen. Charlotte wore a simple blue coat. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked like any other child, except she wasn't. She was third in line to the British throne, and she was heading toward the main road. "Get me back up," James said quietly. "But don't approach her yet. Just follow. I need to understand what's happening before we create a scene. Let me take you back 6 hours." To the moment this all began, Charlotte couldn't sleep. She lay in her bed in Kensington Palace, staring at the ceiling. The palace was quiet. Too quiet. Outside her window, London hummed with life. Cars, people, the world continuing without her. She was 7 years old, and she'd never been to a regular school. Never taken a bus. Never walked down a street without security surrounding her. Never just been a kid. Earlier that evening, she'd overheard her parents talking. They thought she was asleep, but she'd been reading under her covers with a flashlight. "She's struggling," her mother said. "The other children at school treat her differently. She has no real friends, just children whose parents want connections." "It's the price of this life," her father replied. "We all paid it. Charlotte will adjust. Will she? Or will she just become another lonely royal, trapped in a gilded cage?" Charlotte had closed her book, turned off her flashlight, and made a decision. If you're already hooked on the story, hit that subscribe button now. You won't believe what Charlotte does next. At 6:30 a.m., Charlotte got dressed. Not in her usual formal clothes. She'd found an old coat in the back of her closet. Simple, plain. Nothing that screamed royalty. She braided her own hair, grabbed her small backpack. Inside the backpack, one sandwich she'd saved from dinner, a bottle of water, and a photograph. The photograph showed her grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, as a young girl. Before the crown, before the weight, just a child, smiling freely. Charlotte had found it in the palace library months ago. She'd kept it hidden. A reminder that royal women were once just girls. Girls who might have wanted different things. She moved quietly through the palace halls. She knew the routes. Knew which corridors the guards watched. Knew which ones they didn't. When you live your entire life being watched, you learn the blind spots. The side gate near the gardens was old. The lock was temperamental. She'd seen groundskeepers struggle with it. She'd watched, learned, and now she used that knowledge. The lock clicked. The gate opened. And Princess Charlotte walked out of Kensington Palace into London. Into the world. Into the unknown. James Morrison watched her on the cameras. Watched her walk down the street. She moved with purpose. Not running. Not panicking. Just walking. Like she knew exactly where she was going. "Sir, the princess has left the grounds." His radio crackled. "Repeat. Princess Charlotte has left the grounds. Do we engage?" "No," James said. His mind raced. Protocol said yes. Immediately secure the royal. Alert everyone. Create a perimeter. But something stopped him. That look on her face. That determination. "Follow at a distance," he ordered. "Civilian clothes. Do not let her see you. Do not approach unless she's in immediate danger. I need to brief the family, but first I need to know where she's going." 2 guards changed quickly, followed Charlotte from a block behind. They reported back every few minutes. "She's walking east on Kensington High Street. She just passed the tube station. Didn't go in. She stopped at a bus stop." "Sir, she's at a bus stop." James closed his eyes. A 7-year-old princess. At a public bus stop in London, without protection, this could go wrong in 1,000 ways. Charlotte stood at the bus stop. 3 other people waited there. An elderly man reading a newspaper, a woman in a nurse's uniform looking exhausted, a teenager with headphones. None of them looked at Charlotte twice. To them, she was just another child. Maybe going to school early, maybe meeting someone. Just normal. It felt incredible. The bus arrived. Number 27. Charlotte had memorized the route last week. She'd studied it like homework. She knew exactly where it went. She climbed on board. The driver barely glanced at her. Got fare, love? Charlotte pulled out coins. She'd been saving her pocket money for months. Had never spent it on anything because what did a princess need to buy? Everything was provided. But today, those coins meant freedom. She paid. Found a seat by the window, and as the bus pulled away from the stop, Charlotte felt something she'd never felt before. Anonymous. Invisible. Free. The elderly man sat down next to her. He smiled kindly. Off to school? Charlotte nodded. She didn't trust her voice yet. Good girl. Education's important. My granddaughter's about your age. Loves school. Says she wants to be a doctor. That's nice, Charlotte managed. What do you want to be? The question hung in the air. No one had ever asked Charlotte that. Her future was decided, mapped out. Royal duties. Public service. Crown and country. There was no choice in it. I don't know, she said quietly. I don't know if I get to choose. The man laughed gently. Of course you get to choose. You're young. Whole world ahead of you. You can be anything. Charlotte looked out the window. The city rushed past. People going to work, to school, living their lives, making choices. She wondered what that felt like. The bus continued east. Charlotte's guards followed in an unmarked car 2 vehicles behind. James Morrison was on the phone with Charlotte's security detail at the palace, trying to figure out how to handle this without causing panic. Because here's the thing about a princess. Running away, you can't just grab her and drag her back. Not publicly. Not without creating a scene. Not without traumatizing a 7-year-old child who clearly needed something. Where is she going? The head of royal security demanded. We don't know yet, sir. But she seems to have a destination in mind. This is unacceptable. The moment she exits that bus, you secure her. Understood? James hesitated. Sir, permission to speak freely? Go ahead. What if we let her get where she's going first? What if we let her have this? Just for a bit. With protection, at a distance. Maybe she needs this. Silence on the other end. Then, you have 1 hour, Morrison. 1 hour to let her do whatever this is. Then she comes home. And we never speak of this again. Asterisk, the bus stopped in Bethnal Green. Charlotte stood up, thanked the driver, stepped off into a neighborhood she'd only seen in photographs. This wasn't the London of palaces and tourist attractions. This was working-class London. Council estates. Corner shops. Real people living real lives. Charlotte walked 3 blocks. Her guards followed, now on foot, blending into the morning crowd. She stopped in front of a small community center. Faded paint, cracked windows. A handmade banner hung over the door. Breakfast Club, all children welcome. She stood there for a long moment. Then she pushed the door open and went inside. James Morrison got the report through his earpiece. Sir, she's entered the Bethnal Green Community Center. It's a volunteer-run breakfast program for children from low-income families. James's breath caught. Of course, he should have seen this coming. 3 weeks ago, Charlotte had done a school project on poverty in London. She'd researched food insecurity, homeless children, families struggling to make ends meet. Her teacher said she'd been obsessed with it. Couldn't understand why some children went hungry when others had so much. Asterisk, she'd asked her parents about it. They'd given her careful, diplomatic answers. Explained that charity work was part of royal duty, that she'd do public service when she was older, that this was how things worked. But Charlotte was 7, and 7-year-olds don't want diplomatic answers. They want action. Asterisk inside the community center, a woman named Sarah Bennett looked up from setting out cereal boxes. She saw a small girl in a blue coat standing uncertainly by the door. "Hello, sweetheart," Sarah called out warmly. "You here for breakfast? Come on in. We're just setting up, but you're welcome to sit down." Charlotte walked in slowly. The room was large but worn. Folding tables, plastic chairs, posters on the walls showing vegetables and encouraging healthy eating. A dozen children were already there. Some quiet, some loud, all hungry. "What's your name, love?" Sarah asked. Charlotte hesitated. If she said her real name, everything would change. The guards would rush in. She'd be taken home. "This would end, Lottie," she said. It was what her family called her sometimes. True, but not obviously royal. "Lovely to meet you, Lottie. I'm Sarah, first time here." Charlotte nodded. "Nothing to be nervous about. Just grab a bowl. Help yourself to cereal or toast. We've got juice and milk. Eat as much as you want." Charlotte sat at a table. A boy about her age sat across from her. He had dark circles under his eyes, and his clothes were clean, but very old. "You new?" he asked. "Yes. It's good here. Miss Sarah's nice. Sometimes we get eggs on Fridays." He said it like eggs were a special treat, like something to look forward to. Charlotte thought about breakfast at the palace. Fresh fruit, hot porridge, pastries from the royal kitchens, staff who prepared everything, more food than she could eat. And this boy got excited about eggs on Fridays? "I'm Marcus," the boy said. "Lottie, you go to school around here?" "No, different area. Lucky our school's rubbish. Roof leaks. Computers don't work. But it's better than nothing in it." Charlotte poured herself cereal. Her hands shook slightly. Marcus noticed. "You okay? You look scared." "I'm fine, just new to this. Miss Sarah won't bite. She's brilliant. She started this place when her own kid went hungry. Now she feeds like 50 kids every morning before school. Does it all with donations and volunteers." Charlotte looked around the room. At Sarah, who was laughing with a group of small children. At the volunteers setting out food with care and kindness. At the children eating breakfast that might be their only good meal of the day. Outside, James Morrison stood across the street. His guards were positioned around the building, ready to intervene if needed. But so far, Charlotte was safe. Just a child eating breakfast. His radio crackled. "Morrison, we have a problem. Media has caught wind of something. Nothing specific yet, but there are rumors of unusual security activity in Bethnal Green. We need to extract the princess now. Give me 10 more minutes." "Morrison, 10 minutes. She's safe. She's eating breakfast. Let her have this." Inside, Charlotte finished her cereal. Sarah came over to her table. "How was it, Lottie?" "Good, thank you." Sarah sat down. "You seem a bit out of place here, sweetheart. Not that you're not welcome. Just, you seem like you come from somewhere different." Charlotte's heart raced. Had she been recognized? "Can I ask you something?" Sarah continued gently. "Are you running from something? Or running to something? What's the difference?" "Big difference. Running from is about fear. Running to is about hope. Which one is it for you?" Charlotte thought about the palace. The guards. The protocols. The loneliness. Maybe both. Sarah nodded like she understood. "You know what I think? I think you're here because you want to help. I can see it in your eyes. You've got that look. The one that says the world isn't fair and you want to fix it. Can one person fix it? No, but one person can help. One person can show up. One person can care." Sarah gestured to the room. "That's all this is. Just people caring. Showing up every day. It doesn't fix poverty, but it helps." "And helping matters," Marcus interrupted. "Miss Sarah, can we do the thing today?" "The activity." "What activity?" Charlotte asked. Sarah smiled. "Every morning after breakfast, we do something fun. Arts and crafts, games. Something to make the kids smile before school. Today we're painting kindness rocks. What are kindness rocks? You paint a rock with a positive message or a pretty picture. Then you leave it somewhere in the neighborhood for someone else to find. A little surprise. A little bit of hope. Charlotte's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. Want to paint one? Yes, please. For the next 20 minutes, Charlotte sat at a table with Marcus and 6 other children. They painted rocks, drew hearts and stars and flowers, wrote messages like "You matter" and "Be brave" and "You are enough." Charlotte painted her rock carefully. A simple crown, not elaborate, just the outline. And underneath, she wrote, "Queens are made, not born." That's deep, Marcus said, looking at her rock. What's it mean? It means anyone can be royal. If royal means caring about people, if it means showing up and helping and being kind, I like that. Charlotte smiled. A real smile. The kind she rarely felt at the palace. Outside, James Morrison got another call. The family has been briefed. They want her home now. No more delays. Understood. Preparing for extraction. James walked into the community center. He wore civilian clothes. Looked like just another volunteer. He caught Charlotte's eye. She saw him. Recognition flashed across her face. Her smile faded. She knew her time was up. But before James could approach, Sarah stood up and called out, "All right, everyone, time to hide your rocks. Go place them around the neighborhood. Spread some joy." The children grabbed their rocks and rushed out. Charlotte hesitated. James was walking toward her, but Marcus grabbed her hand. "Come on, Lottie. Let's hide ours together." Charlotte looked at James, looked at Marcus. Made a choice. She followed Marcus out the side door. James cursed under his breath. He followed quickly, but kept his distance. His team fanned out. They'd contain the situation. Keep Charlotte safe. But quietly, Charlotte and Marcus walked down the street. Other children scattered in different directions, placing their painted rocks on windowsills, park benches, bus stops. Little gifts of hope hidden throughout the neighborhood. "Where should we put ours?" Marcus asked. Charlotte looked around. She saw an old woman sitting outside a corner shop. The woman looked tired, sad. Like she carried heavy weights Charlotte couldn't see. "There," Charlotte said. They approached the woman. Charlotte held out her rock, the one with the crown and the message. "Excuse me," Charlotte said softly. "This is for you." The woman looked up, confused. Then she saw the rock. "Read the words. Queens are made, not born. What's this then?" "A kindness rock," Marcus explained. "To remind you that you're special, that you matter." The woman's eyes filled with tears. She took the rock with trembling hands. "Thank you. Both of you. You have no idea. Today's been hard, really hard. And this." She clutched the rock to her chest. "This helps." Charlotte felt something crack open inside her chest. This feeling. This was what she'd been missing. Connection. Real impact. Mattering to someone in a way that was immediate and human and true. "You all right?" Marcus asked Charlotte. "Yes, I'm really all right." James watched from 30 feet away. He'd heard the whole exchange through the long-range microphone his team used. He saw Charlotte's face, saw the transformation. His radio crackled. "Morrison, we have 3 news vans heading this direction. Someone tipped them off. We need to move now." James made a decision. Create a diversion. 2 blocks west, get those news vans away from here. "I need 5 more minutes, sir. That's not do it." Charlotte and Marcus walked back toward the community center. Sarah was gathering the children. "Everyone back inside. Let's share what happened." They crowded into the center. Each child told their story, where they placed their rock, who they gave it to. One girl gave hers to a bus driver. A boy left his on a memorial bench in the park. Another hid hers on a playground for some lucky kid to find. When it was Charlotte's turn, she told them about the old woman, about her tears, about how such a small thing had mattered so much. "That's the magic of it," Sarah said. "Kindness doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. Charlotte raised her hand. Miss Sarah, why do you do this? This breakfast program. It must be so much work. Sarah sat down, pulling her chair close to the children. You want the truth? I do it because I remember being hungry. I remember being a kid and going to school with an empty stomach, feeling ashamed, feeling invisible. And I swore that if I ever had the chance, I'd make sure other kids didn't feel that way. Were you very poor? A small girl asked. Very poor. My mom worked 3 jobs. My dad was gone. We lived in one room. I wore my cousin's old clothes. I knew what it felt like to have nothing. But you're not poor anymore? Marcus asked. Not in the same way. But I learned something important. Being poor doesn't mean having no money. It means having no choices. No options. No voice. That's real poverty. And that's what I try to fight. Charlotte listened carefully. She thought about her own life. She had money, palaces, staff, everything. But did she have choices? Did she have options? Or was she just poor in a different way? Sarah looked at Charlotte. Really looked at her. Lottie, can I ask you something? And I want you to be honest. Okay, why are you really here? Not just the breakfast. Not just the rocks. Why are you here? Charlotte felt all the eyes in the room on her. Marcus, the other children. Sarah, the volunteers. She could lie. Could keep pretending. But something about Sarah's kindness, about this place, about this moment, made her want to tell the truth. Because I'm lonely, Charlotte said quietly. I live in a big house with lots of people, but I'm always alone. And I wanted to know what it felt like to just be normal. To be with other kids who didn't care about who I was supposed to be. I wanted to matter for real. Not because of my name or my family. Just because I'm me. Sarah reached out and squeezed Charlotte's hand. You do matter. And you're not alone. Not here. Marcus nudged her shoulder. You're weird, but you're all right? Charlotte laughed. It felt good. Outside, James received an urgent call. Morrison, the palace is aware of the media situation. They're sending official transport. 8 to 3 minutes. You need to get the princess to the extraction point now. Copy that. James entered the community center. He walked straight to Charlotte. Lottie, we need to go. Now. Charlotte looked up at him. She knew who he was. What this meant? Her adventure was over. Are you her dad? Marcus asked. Something like that? Does she have to go? Yes, I'm sorry. Charlotte stood up slowly. Thank you, Miss Sarah, for everything. Sarah hugged her. You come back any time, sweetheart. You're always welcome here. Even if, Charlotte hesitated. Even if I'm different than you think? Sarah pulled back, studying Charlotte's face. For a moment, recognition flickered in her eyes. Then understanding. Especially then. Kindness doesn't care about differences. Charlotte walked toward the door with James. Marcus followed. Will I see you again? I don't know. Can I write to you? Do you have an address? Charlotte thought about Kensington Palace. About how impossible it would be to explain. It's complicated. Everything's complicated, Marcus said. But we're friends now. Friends figure it out. James guided Charlotte outside. A black car waited at the corner. Tinted windows. Royal crest barely visible. 2 more security vehicles flanked it. The children from the breakfast program crowded at the window, watching. They didn't understand what was happening, but they knew something important was ending. Charlotte stopped at the car door. Turned back to James. They don't know who I am. They just know Lottie. Can we keep it that way? That's not my decision, please. They treated me like a person. Not a princess. Just a kid. If they find out, it'll change everything. They'll feel weird and different, and it won't be the same. Please don't take that away from them. James looked at this 7-year-old girl, this future queen, this brave, lonely, brilliant child who just wanted one morning of normalcy. I'll do what I can, he said. Charlotte got in the car. As they drove away, she looked back at the community center. At Sarah standing in the doorway? At Marcus and the other children waving from the window? She'd been gone from the palace for 2 hours. It felt like a lifetime. The car ride back to Kensington Palace was silent. Charlotte stared out the window. James sat across from her, radio in hand, coordinating with palace security. "Your parents are waiting," he said gently. "They're not angry. Just worried. Are you going to get in trouble?" Charlotte asked. "Probably. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen." James looked at her. "Can I ask you something, Princess?" She nodded. "Was it worth it? Running away. All of this, was it worth the trouble you're in?" Charlotte thought about the bus ride, the breakfast, Marcus, Sarah, the old woman clutching her kindness rock, the feeling of mattering in a real way. Yes. It was worth everything. They arrived at the palace. Guards opened the gates. The car pulled through. Charlotte felt the weight settle back on her shoulders. The rules? The protocols. The cage her parents met her in the private drawing room. Her mother rushed forward, pulling Charlotte into a fierce hug. "Don't ever do that again. Do you understand?" "Never. I'm sorry, Mummy." Her father stood with his arms crossed. Not angry, just tired. "Charlotte, do you have any idea how dangerous that was? You're 7 years old. Anything could have happened, but nothing did. I was safe the whole time. You don't know that? You can't know that. The world isn't safe for people like us. That's why we have security, rules, protection." Charlotte pulled away from her mother. "But I'm not free. None of us are free. We're just prisoners in prettier cages." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, sweetheart, I just wanted to be normal for one morning. To have friends who liked me for me, not because I'm a princess, just because I'm Charlotte." Her father knelt down to her level. "I understand. More than you know. But normal is impossible for us. It never will be. And the sooner you accept that, the easier this life becomes." "I don't want it to be easy. I want it to be real." The room fell silent. Charlotte's words hung in the air like smoke. Finally, her mother spoke. "Go to your room, Charlotte. We'll discuss your punishment later." Charlotte walked out. No running. No crying. Just walking with her head high. 7 years old, and already learning to hide her feelings behind a royal mask in her room. Charlotte pulled out the photograph she'd carried in her backpack. Young Queen Elizabeth, smiling freely. Before the crown changed everything, she wondered if her grandmother ever regretted it. The duty, the service, the sacrifice of a normal life. That evening, James Morrison was called into a meeting with the head of royal security. He expected to be fired. Expected consequences for his choices. Instead, he found Sarah Bennet sitting there. "It's Bennet," James said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" Sarah looked uncomfortable. Out of place in the formal palace setting. "They brought me here. Said they needed to speak with me about this morning." The head of security entered. A stern man named Sir Richard Pemberton. He'd served the royal family for 30 years. Took protocol seriously. Took his job seriously. "Sit down, both of you, sir," Richard said. "We have a situation to discuss." James and Sarah sat. "Miss Bennet, you spent 2 hours with Princess Charlotte this morning. You didn't recognize her?" "Not at first. She looked like any other child. It wasn't until she was leaving that I realized... The way security appeared, the car, the pieces came together, and you said nothing." "What was I supposed to say?" "Sorry, Your Highness. Didn't recognize you while you were eating cereal with poor kids." She wanted to be normal. I gave her that gift. Sir Richard's expression didn't change. "The media is circulating rumors. Nothing confirmed yet. But if this gets out, it becomes a security nightmare. A protocol disaster. An embarrassment. Or," Sarah said firmly, "it becomes a beautiful. A story about a young girl with a good heart who wanted to help. People, that's not how the press. We'll see it. And maybe the press needs to see things differently." James spoke up. "Sir, if I may, Princess Charlotte was never in danger this morning. My team had eyes on her the entire time. She was safe. And what she did, what she experienced. Maybe it was important. Sir Richard leaned back in his chair. Important how? She connected with real people, saw real poverty, did real good. Isn't that what we want from the royal family? For them to understand and serve the people? She's 7 years old, and she already cares more about helping others than most adults ever will. That should be celebrated, not punished. Sir Richard was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a file. We've reviewed the security footage. All of it. The bus. The community center. Every moment. He pushed a photograph across the table. It showed Charlotte painting her kindness rock, laughing with Marcus, looking genuinely happy. That child, Sir Richard said quietly, has the weight of a kingdom in her future. She carries burdens most people can't imagine. And this morning, for 2 hours, she got to be free of it. James and Sarah exchanged glances. Here's what's going to happen, Sir Richard continued. This incident will not become public. The media will receive a statement about routine security drills in the area. Nothing about the princess. Miss Bennet, you will sign a non-disclosure agreement. Sarah bristled. You want me to lie? I want you to protect a child's privacy. There's a difference. And if I refuse, then you become part of a media circus that destroys the one thing Princess Charlotte was searching for. Normalcy. The children at your center will be hounded by press. Your program will be compromised. Is that what you want? Sarah's jaw tightened. No. Then we're agreed. Morrison, you'll keep your position. What you did this morning showed poor judgment, but good instincts. The princess was never in real danger because you ensured she wasn't. That counts for something. James exhaled in relief. However, Sir Richard added, there will be changes. Security protocols will be reviewed. The princess will have additional restrictions. And you, Morrison, will be on probation for 6 months. Understood, sir. Sir Richard stood. Miss Bennet, before you go, there's someone who wants to see you. Open the door. Charlotte entered, accompanied by her mother. Charlotte ran to Sarah, hugging her tightly. Thank you for this morning. It was the best morning of my life. Sarah knelt down. You're welcome, sweetheart. And thank you for showing up. For caring. For being exactly who you are. Charlotte's mother stepped forward. Miss Bennet, I want to thank you as well. What you do at that community center? It's remarkable. I didn't realize how much need there was in that area. There's need everywhere, Your Highness. Most people just don't see it. I'd like to change that. My children should understand the world they'll serve. Would you be open to the royal family supporting your program? Officially. Funding. Resources. Whatever you need. Sarah's eyes widened. Are you serious? Very serious. And perhaps Charlotte could volunteer there. Under proper supervision, of course. Once a month, as part of her education. Charlotte's face lit up like the sun. Really, Mummy? Really? But there are conditions. Security must be present. Protocols must be followed. And you must never, ever run away again. I promise. Charlotte turned to Sarah. Can Marcus come too? To volunteer? Marcus, Sarah asked. My friend. From this morning. Can he be part of the program? I want to keep being his friend. Sarah smiled. I think that can be arranged. 1 month later, Charlotte returned to the Bethnal Green Community Center. This time officially, with security, with photographers, with the full weight of royal protocol. But Sarah had made one demand. The children at the center would be briefed beforehand. They'd know Charlotte was coming, but they'd be told she was still just Lottie. Still just a friend. Still just a kid who wanted to help. Marcus stood outside the center when Charlotte arrived. The black car pulled up. Guards emerged first. Then Charlotte, wearing the same blue coat as that first morning. She walked straight to Marcus. Hi yourself. So you're actually a princess then? Yeah, sorry I didn't tell you. Figured it out when Miss Sarah sat us all down for a serious talk. She's rubbish at keeping secrets. Gets all weird and formal. Charlotte laughed. Are you mad I didn't tell you? Nah, I get it. If I was a prince, I'd probably want to be normal too sometimes. He paused. But you're still weird. Thanks. I mean, you painted a rock with a crown on it. Should have known right there something was up. They walked into the center together. The other children were there. Some stared. Some whispered. But Sarah clapped her hands. Right then, everyone. We've got work to do. Princess or not, everyone helps. Charlotte, you're on toast duty. Marcus, you're setting tables. Let's go. And just like that, it was normal again. Charlotte spread jam on toast, poured juice, talked with the children, laughed at Marcus's terrible jokes. The photographers got their pictures. The media got their story. Young Royal serves community, the headlines would read. Perfect PR, perfect optics. But for Charlotte, it was more than that. It was real. After breakfast, Sarah pulled Charlotte aside. I need to show you something. She led Charlotte to a small office at the back of the center. On the desk was a box. These came in after your first visit. After the news broke about the royal family supporting our program, Charlotte opened the box. It was filled with letters, hundreds of them, from children all over the country, all over the world. She picked one up, read it. A girl from Manchester writing about how Charlotte inspired her to start a lunch program at her school. Another from a boy in Scotland who began volunteering at a homeless shelter because if a princess can help, so can I. Letter after letter. Children helping. Adults helping. People moved to action by a 7-year-old girl who just wanted to make a difference. You started something, Sarah said. That morning, when you walked through our doors, you started a wave. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. I was just being selfish. I just wanted to feel normal. Maybe. But even selfish acts can have selfless consequences. You showed people that caring matters. That showing up matters. That royalty isn't about crowns and palaces. It's about service. Charlotte wiped her eyes. My father says I can't be normal. That it's not possible for people like us. Your father's right. You can't be normal. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is to use your abnormal position to do something extraordinary. Over the next year, Charlotte visited the center every month. She helped serve breakfast, painted kindness rocks, played with children who were learning that poverty didn't define them. Marcus became her best friend. Not her only friend, she was making connections at school too, slowly learning to trust. But Marcus was special. He was the first person who'd seen her as just Charlotte, just Lottie, just a kid. They wrote letters between visits, real letters, paper and pen. Marcus told her about school, about his mum's new job, about the struggles and victories of daily life. Charlotte told him about the pressure of royal duties, the expectations, the loneliness that still crept in sometimes. One letter from Marcus stuck with her. She kept it in her desk drawer at the palace. Dear Lottie, you asked me what I think being royal means. I think it means you have more power than most people. And power is only good if you use it to help people who don't have it. You're doing that? So keep being weird. Keep caring. And keep being my friend. Love, Marcus. James Morrison watched Charlotte's transformation over those months. The quiet, lonely child was becoming someone else. Someone confident. Someone purposeful. Someone who understood her privilege but wasn't paralyzed by it. One evening, he found Charlotte in the palace gardens. She was placing painted rocks throughout the grounds, hiding them for staff to find. Spreading kindness? He asked. Always. James sat down on a bench. Charlotte joined him. They watched the sun set over London. The same view from the palace that she'd searched for from that rooftop. But it felt different now. Less like a cage. More like a responsibility. I never thanked you properly, Charlotte said. For that morning, for letting me go, for following me instead of stopping me. I probably should have stopped you, but you didn't. Why? James thought about his son Tommy, about the choice he'd made years ago to listen instead of enforce. Because sometimes the most important thing isn't following the rules. It's understanding why someone needs to break them. Did you get in trouble? Some, but it was worth it. You needed that morning. And honestly, I think we all needed to see what you'd do with it. What did I do with it? You started a revolution. A quiet one, but a revolution nonetheless. Charlotte smiled. A rebellion. Exactly. Princess Charlotte's rebellion. Not against the crown, but for the people. That's the kind of rebellion that changes things. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Charlotte said, I'm going to be queen someday. Yes, you are. I'm going to be a different kind of queen. Not just ceremonies and appearances. Real help. Real change. Real connection with real people. I believe you will. It's going to be hard. People will resist. They'll say it's not proper. Not traditional. Not how things are done. True, Charlotte stood up, looked out at the city. At the millions of lives happening beyond the palace walls? Good. I don't want to do things how they've always been done. I want to do them right. Sarah Bennet was invited to tea at Kensington Palace 6 months after that first morning. She sat in a formal drawing room feeling completely out of place when Charlotte burst in. Miss Sarah? Charlotte hugged her tightly. I'm so glad you came. Wouldn't miss it. Though I've got to say, this place is intimidating. It's just a house. It's a palace. Same thing. They sat together, drank tea, ate fancy sandwiches that Sarah said were too small to count as real food. Charlotte showed her the thank you letters she'd received from around the world. The impact rippling outward from that one morning of rebellion. I need to tell you something, Sarah said. The program is expanding. We're opening to more locations. Funded entirely by the Royal Foundation. We'll be able to feed 300 children every morning. Charlotte's eyes went wide. 300. Thanks to you. Thanks to what you started, I didn't start it. You did. Years before I showed up. Maybe, but you amplified it. You made people pay attention. And now those children will have breakfast. We'll have hope. We'll have a chance. Charlotte felt the weight of it, the responsibility, the power of her position. For the first time, it didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a tool, like something she could use to build instead of just carry. Miss Sarah, can I ask you something? Anything. That first morning, when I walked into your center, did you really not know who I was? Sarah smiled. Not immediately, but pretty quickly, the way you spoke, the way you moved. The security I spotted watching from across the street, I knew then, why did you let me stay? Because you needed it. Because every child deserves a moment to just be themselves. And because I saw in you what I see in all the children who come through our doors. Not poverty or privilege. Just a kid trying to figure out how to matter. Charlotte leaned her head on Sarah's shoulder. You changed my life. You changed mine too, sweetheart. You reminded me why I started this. Not just to feed bodies, but to feed souls. To show children they matter. All children. Even princesses. Asterisk 10 years past. Charlotte was 17 now. Still visiting the Bethnal Green Community Center. Still friends with Marcus, who was studying engineering at university. Still painting kindness rocks and leaving them throughout London. But the rebellion had grown bigger than breakfast programs and painted rocks taught Charlotte. Had become the face of a new kind of royalty. She spoke openly about poverty, about mental health, about the struggles of ordinary people. She used her platform not just for ceremonial duties, but for real advocacy, real change. Asterisk, the traditionalists hated it, said she was too political, too outspoken, too modern. But the people loved her because she was real, because she cared, because she'd never forgotten that morning when she walked out of the palace and into the world. Sarah Bennet was invited to Buckingham Palace for a special ceremony. The Queen herself wanted to honor the work of the community breakfast programs. 20 locations now. Thousands of children fed every morning. A model being replicated across the country. Sarah stood in the Grand Hall, surrounded by dignitaries and officials. She felt small, out of place. But then Charlotte appeared, now a young woman. poised and confident, but still with those same kind eyes. Asterisk, Miss Sarah, Charlotte said warmly. Thank you for coming. Couldn't say no to the Queen. Actually, I'm the one who insisted you be here. This honor is because of you. Because of what you built. The Queen entered. Everyone bowed. Sarah fumbled through an awkward curtsy, but the Queen smiled kindly. Miss Bennet, your work has touched countless lives. The Crown recognizes exceptional service to the community, and yours has been extraordinary. It is my honor to present you with the Order of the British Empire. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Your Majesty, I don't deserve this. I just fed hungry children. You did far more than that. You showed my granddaughter what true service looks like, and in doing so, you shaped the future of this monarchy. The ceremony continued. Sarah received her medal. Photographers captured the moment, but Sarah kept looking at Charlotte, remembering that scared 7-year-old who'd walked through her doors a decade ago. After the ceremony, Charlotte found Sarah outside in the palace gardens. Remember when you asked me if I was running from something or running to something? Charlotte said. I remember. I was running from a cage. But you taught me I wasn't trapped. I was positioned. There's a difference. Trapped means powerless. Positioned means you have leverage. I have a platform, resources, attention. I can use all of that to help people. I just didn't understand it when I was 7. Sarah sat down on a stone bench. Charlotte joined her. The same way they'd sat at the community center all those years ago, just to people talking. I'm scared, Charlotte admitted. I'll be queen someday, and I want to do it differently. I want to modernize, to connect, to serve in ways that actually matter. But everyone says I can't, that tradition won't allow it, that I'll destroy the monarchy by caring too much, will you? I don't know, maybe. But if the monarchy can't evolve, can't care about real people in real ways, then maybe it deserves to be destroyed. Sarah took Charlotte's hand. You won't destroy it. You'll transform it. There's a difference. Destruction tears down. Transformation builds something new from what already exists. How do I do that? The same way you've been doing it since you were 7. Show up, care. Be real. Break the rules when the rules are wrong. And never forget that morning when you chose people over protocol. Charlotte looked out at the manicured gardens, at the palace looming behind them, at the gates separating them from the city beyond. I still feel trapped sometimes. We all do. But you've learned to make your cage bigger, to push the boundaries, to redefine what's possible. Keep doing that. Marcus came to the palace that evening for a private dinner. He was nervous, still not used to the formality despite 10 years of friendship with Charlotte. Relax, Charlotte said as they ate. It's just me. It's just you and about 15 staff members watching our every move. They're discreet. They're terrifying. Charlotte laughed. Remember when you thought I was just some weird girl at breakfast club? You were just some weird girl who happens to be a princess. Still weird, though. Thanks. You're weird, too. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Marcus said, I'm getting married. Charlotte's fork froze halfway to her mouth. What? Her name's Amara? We met at university. She's brilliant, kind, funny, everything. And I asked her to marry me. That's amazing. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I'm telling you now. And I'm asking you something. Will you come to the wedding? Not as Princess Charlotte. Just as Lottie. As my friend? Of course I will. It's one more thing. The wedding's in Bethnal Green. At the community center, Miss Sarah offered to host it. It's small. Nothing fancy. Just family and friends. No media. No security spectacle. Just ... normal. Charlotte felt emotion rise in her chest. You want me to come to your wedding at the place where we met? Where else would it be? That center saved me, Charlotte. Fed me when I was hungry. Gave me hope when everything was hard. And it gave me my best friend. Of course my wedding's there. Charlotte wiped her eyes. I'll have to bring some security. I can't avoid that. But I'll keep it minimal. And I promise no royal spectacle. Just me, just Lottie. Just your friend. That's all I want. The wedding happened 3 months later. Charlotte arrived in a simple dress. 2 security guards, both in plain clothes. No photographers. No press. Just a quiet entrance to a community center in Bethnal Green. Sarah met her at the door. Now in her 70s, but still strong. Still running the program? Still changing lives? He's nervous. Won't stop pacing? Marcus nervous? That's new. Love does that to people. Charlotte found Marcus in the small room they'd converted into a preparation area. He wore a simple suit, fidgeted with his tie. You look terrified, Charlotte said. I am terrified. What if I mess up the vows? What if I trip? What if Marcus... Breathe. You're marrying someone who loves you. That's all that matters. Thanks, Lottie. Ceremony was beautiful, simple, real. Marcus and Amara exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Talked about building a life together. About fighting for each other. About creating a home filled with the same kindness that had saved them both. Charlotte sat in the second row. Cried openly. Nobody took photos. Nobody whispered about the princess crying at a common wedding. They just let her be. Let her feel. Let her be human. At the reception, Charlotte helped serve food, the same way she had a decade ago. Same tables. Same center. Different purpose, but same heart. Sarah found her in the kitchen washing dishes. You don't have to do that. Want it. It feels right. You know, that first morning you walked in here, I thought you were running away from your life. But you weren't. You were running toward it. Toward the person you wanted to be. Charlotte dried her hands. I still am. Every day. Still running towards something better. And you're bringing the whole country with you. That's the power of your rebellion. It's not just about you anymore. It's about showing everyone that change is possible. They walked back to the reception. Marcus was dancing with Amara. Friends and families surrounded them. The community center, which fed hungry children every morning, was now celebrating love, life, hope. Charlotte thought about that 7-year-old girl who'd squeezed through a damaged door, who'd broken the rules because the rules were breaking her, who'd found exactly what she needed in this place. She'd been searching for freedom, but what she'd found was purpose. Years later, when Charlotte became queen, her coronation was different from any in history. Traditional? Yes. Ceremonial? Yes. But also deeply personal. Deeply connected to the people. She invited Sarah Bennett to sit in the front row, invited Marcus and Amara, invited children from all 20 community breakfast programs across the country, invited people who represented the real Britain, the struggling Britain, the hopeful Britain. And after the crown was placed on her head, after all the traditional rituals were complete, Queen Charlotte did something unprecedented. She left Westminster Abbey, walked out into the streets. Security around her? Yes, but not separating her from people. She walked through London, stopped and talked to citizens, shook hands, listened to stories. At one point she found an old woman sitting on a bench. The woman looked tired, sad, familiar somehow. Charlotte sat down beside her. Are you all right? The woman looked at her. At the crown still on her head. At the formal robes? You're the queen. I am. But right now, I'm just a person talking to another person. Are you all right? The woman started crying. I don't know. Everything's been so hard lately. I feel invisible. Charlotte reached into her pocket, pulled out a painted rock. One she'd made specifically for this day. It had a crown. And words underneath, queens are made, not born. This is for you, Charlotte said, pressing it into the woman's hands. To remind you that you matter, that you're seen, that you're not invisible. The woman stared at the rock. At the queen, at this impossible moment. Why are you doing this? Because someone taught me a long time ago that kindness doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. Charlotte stood up, continued her walk. Behind her, cameras captured everything. The media would call it a publicity stunt. Political theater. A calculated move to seem relatable. But Charlotte didn't care what they called it. She knew the truth. This wasn't about publicity. This was about keeping a promise to a 7-year-old girl who'd wanted to change the world. Sarah Bennett watched the coronation from her living room. Saw Charlotte walk through London. Saw her sit with that woman on the bench. Saw her give away the painted rock. She smiled, whispered to the television screen. That's my girl. Still rebelling. Still caring. Still showing up. And in Bethnal Green, in a small community center that had started as one woman's response to hunger, children painted kindness rocks. They wrote messages of hope, and they placed them throughout their neighborhood. Not because a queen told them to, but because they'd learned what Charlotte learned all those years ago, that small acts of kindness, done with real heart, can change everything. That rebellion doesn't always look like revolution. Sometimes it looks like breakfast, like painted rocks, like showing up when everyone expects you to stay away. That queens aren't born. They're made. By choices. By courage. By caring enough to break the rules when the rules stand in the way of what's right. Princess Charlotte's rebellion had left the guards speechless. But in the end, it had given the world something more valuable than speechlessness. It had given them hope.